Thank you for that, Mike. Unfortunately, the information you were given earlier was wrong. It was incorrect. I don't actually retire until 12 o'clock tomorrow, so I can still be, I can still be fired. President Trump has proven that one. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at the conference. What I'm going to talk about is really just an update on the National Safety Alerts Oversight Group project. There's no prizes for guessing what the project might be about. It's about alerts. It was interesting, just hearing Fiona's presentation there about the amount of communication that happens and the benefits of that communication and how we've got to get that right to make sure that we make things safer for the future. Alert systems are all about communication, and one of the things that we are trying to deal with is how do we do that better and how can we make sure that that works and is right for what we do. I can only talk for the NHS, and I will now stick my head on the chopping block a little bit. I think sometimes the NHS is quite poor at communication. We sometimes work in silos. We sometimes kind of have our own little areas that we want to focus on, and we kind of don't like sharing too much. So some of the things that we've been talking about in the group is about how can we break those barriers down, how can we standardise things, and how can we nationalise things, how can we make things work across the board for everyone. So good communications are really, really important. It's something that we've got to focus on. So, is it really important? Is it really that important? I think it's something that we really need to do some work on and something that we need to think about. I found this in my training folder, which is about 20 years ago. I'm emptying out all my files, obviously, and you can see that. And I thought this is actually still quite relevant. This is a communication between British and American staff, and I think it's actually quite relative to what we're talking about. So, you can read that. Communication between America and Britain. Equality and Diversity told me that if you put something in capital letters in the electronic mail, it means you're shouty. So I've put that in the appropriate places. So the British are saying you need to divert your course to avoid a collision. US Navy, no, you need to divert your course. British come back saying no, negative, you need to divert your course, you're going to have a collision. US Navy again, starts puffing the chest out. You can imagine what they're like, the Rambo music in the background. I say again, you need to divert your course. British just come back and said, no, you need to divert your course, I'm sorry. US Navy then puffs the chest out and say, we're the largest carrier in the fleet, we're the big guys, we're accompanied by everybody and their granny and their destroyers. I demand that you change course. Absolutely, or else we will take countermeasures to do something about it. If I had already left, you might have finished the F word, but I haven't done that. I kind of put that in because I thought this is the kind of graveyard shift straight after lunch, it's not going to be the easiest one. So, as I say, my name is Peter Mackey, Head of Health and Safety at NHS Forth Valley, and I'm part of this National Safety and Alerts Oversight Group. It's a really, really interesting group, and it's something that certainly is not unique, but it's one of the newer things, and I think it's something that is really building the framework for where we need to go within the NHS itself. So who is NSAOG? Made up of a group of different people: Healthcare Improvement Scotland, NSS, Scottish Government, Health Boards, local authorities. It's really, really important that you understand the groups of people around the table. It's fantastic to be able to get that different type of people around the table, because the work that can be done, I think this is the beginning of something rather than the end. This is only an initial project, but I think this is going to continue to go on. Having those experts around the table with the drive and enthusiasm they've got is absolutely fantastic, and it's something that we want to keep moving forward with. So what are we actually going to do? We're looking to drive improvement in dissemination and implementation in the management of alerts. Alerts is something that you probably get all the time. You're kind of fairly bored with them. It's not, it's not exciting stuff. But this is something that we're passionate about, something that we think we need to improve on. So what we're going to do, we're going to improve information sharing, collaboration, and make sure that the people who handle these alerts in the local areas do it properly and do it well. And also that bit at the end, that closing the governance loop, because one of the things that we do, I guarantee that there'll be somebody in this room that's received an alert and hasn't even looked at it and deleted it, because you get them all the time. Oh, it's another alert, delete, not an issue. But previous speaker was talking about something that, these are things that we can maybe pick up, and if we get something out that really needs to be fixed, then the alert system is a perfect way to deal with it. So, what are alerts? I'm not going to go over it. You're all familiar with alerts. Most of the people in here are either on the group or you're very much familiar with the way that process is, medical divert, safety action notices, etc. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about, and that's the kind of thing that we're saying needs to be managed and managed appropriately. Have I missed a bit? Sorry, I think I've come back. Yeah, what we're proposing is we're going to establish a central point of safety alert monitoring management report at corporate level. Read that out because that's exactly what we do. We already have all these things within our organisation, but sometimes we don't get that ability to report to a corporate level about the governance, about how many of these alerts are being managed properly, about making sure that we've closed the loop on sending them out, receiving them, getting them acknowledged and actioning these things. We're wanting to have an organisation-wide approach and make sure that it covers senior manager, but it covers every service within that. Some of the discussions we've had is some of the alerts only go to certain people and they don't go any further. What we're trying to make sure is that the alerts go to all the right people at the right time and come back with the actions. And ultimately then that supports the governance approach. Why? CEL 43, some of you will be aware of, familiar with CELs, that basically came out saying that there had to be a single point of contact within NHS boards and local authorities, and that single point of contact was the person or persons who would manage the alerts within that organisation. It talks in the CEL about the role of someone called an equipment coordinator, and there'll be many equipment coordinators in the room, and a lot of people are kind of confused about that. But the equipment coordinator is really the person who manages the alert system, the person who's controlling that, the person who oversees that and makes sure that the system functions. As I said earlier on, this term equipment coordinator, we're currently looking at that because that confuses people, because you immediately think equipment is something to do with medical physics or something like that, something engineering, but it's not. I'm a health and safety manager and I manage the alert system and I'm the equipment coordinator. So it's not, it doesn't necessarily mean you've got a technical background when we're talking about it. So what we wanted to do is put some guidance out on what the alert systems look like. We created a document. Stephen, who's in the audience, we created a document to say to people, this is what an alerts management system needs to look like. Now the challenge we have is that there are so many systems and so many different organisations involved in this. Some have fancy electronic systems, like myself. We've got a system called Safeguard, Ulysses, little pop in there because they're outside. It's a fantastic electronic system and it kind of does everything for you. However, not everyone has that. Some people have Datex and that's also got a very good system. But some people are actually working from paper systems. They do it manually. They've got spreadsheets. So it's really difficult for us to say everyone has to do the same thing. So what we did, this guidance paper, was basically saying this is the minimum standards required for an alert system. You'll get the alert in, you'll send it out, you'll get acknowledgement that they've received it, and then they will complete any actions that they need to do. So we wanted to have that standard, that consistency across the board to make sure that we can assure that every alert is managed appropriately. The critical thing that we were looking at was making sure that everybody gets all the alerts. So we looked at that simplicity, created a very simple flow chart, and we've said irrespective of what system you have, what type of system, follow that process and we should be okay. It means your alerts will get managed within your area. So we put together the suggestion that we should have a pilot and we would look at the feasibility of having a central point of monitoring. Is it possible for any single organisation to have only one place that these alerts go to? I'm assuming that most organisations will be similar, where the same alert will come into multiple people. I spoke to my procurement manager the other day about an alert, and he received the same alert 4 times back to back, and this is crazy. But we've got other alerts that will go into different people, and it will go into different specialists. Now I know the manufacturers have got to protect themselves and they've got to send these things out to anyone who has their equipment, But that multitude of these alerts coming out can certainly cause us some problems. So the aim is to reduce these. We've got to try to make sure that we can get the system right and reduce these emails and alerts flying around all the place. This consistent approach, as I say earlier on, is going to obviously improve the governance of the alerts, and we'll make sure that we're not going to get into that point where we've got saturation with people. At the moment we've got a pilot running, and the pilot is very simply looking at, let's count the number of alerts people have and let's measure them against each other to find out whether you get more than me and I get more than you, and why that is the case. It also gives us a way of actually checking to make sure that we've not missed something that's really, really important. So we've got NHS boards, local authorities. We've tried to get a mixture of boards who are using nice fancy systems and other boards that are using kind of less manual systems or more manual systems, and the same with the local authorities. And we're just looking at the quality of the information that they can get with us. So unfortunately, what I was hoping to do was come here and present some data around what we've done. Unfortunately, I've not got enough data at the moment to provide an early report to the conference, but we will be producing a full report at the end of the 6 months. We'll get templates out. It's going to be fairly easy to do. So once that information comes in, we'll be happy to share that through the distribution list. So basically, it's going to be a case of watch this space. I can't say enough about the NSAOG group. The fact that we've got the Scottish Government, we've got all the health boards, we've got the local authorities, we've got lots of key people around the table. As I said earlier on, this is very much the beginning, I think, of something that's really positive, and we need to keep those people around the table. I think there's an opportunity for standardisation, there's an opportunity for getting systems that are national rather than individual boards having individual systems or local authorities having individual systems. So we need to be able to put all this information in and get real good, strong data out. But the critical thing is we need to make sure that we manage alerts in the appropriate way. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much for your time.